We think about showing gratitude. What are some direct effects of gratitude? Well, it reinforces neuronal connections, which causes some of these chemical changes. These are the same, by the way. When they say neurons wire together and fire together, they don't just fire with electricity. They send each other neurotransmitters. So neurons are just brain cells. That's what your brain is made of, is about a bajillion different cells. And they're connected to each other. That's how we think. And that's how we feel. And that's literally controls everything we do, is these brain cells processing information and then sending signals to each other. And they send it through chemicals. And it's just good to keep in mind that these different aspects are all the same thing. When a psychotherapist is helping you cognitively restructure, or you're cognitively restructuring on your own, you're thinking about things a different way, that is changes in brain connections. Those changes in brain connections do involve dopamine maybe more, or more serotonin. Hopefully they don't involve some stress hormones, which would be a bad way of cognitive restructuring, right? After a trauma, maybe I start connecting things, becoming hypervigilant, increased stress response. That would be a negative cognitive restructuring, which would relate to reinforcing these traumatic pathways that I'm connecting everything to fear, and some chemical changes that have to do with stress hormones. So we're trying to fix all these things because they're all the same thing. They're just looking at it from a different angle. And gratitude affects that. It affects your brain, aka affects your thinking, aka affects which neurons talk to each other in which ways, aka affects chemicals they use to talk to each other. Hopefully positive ones. So we're changing our brain when we do gratitude. That's great. We change our brain. What does that do? Well, it affects your mental health, right? So changing this brain can result in mental health, just like taking an SSRI can result in more serotonin, cause those neurons to talk to each other more, and cause you to help you even think differently, which improves your mental health. So can gratitude, in a similar way, kind of. Affects your mental health, and then in turn that can affect your physical health. Not just your biceps here in this icon. I wouldn't do gratitude if I'm trying to get my biceps looking like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. But if I do want to reap some of these benefits, right? The sleep I talked about, the blood pressure, not to mention all these mental effects that come from changing my brain. We can practice gratitude. And just like any other skill, we can get better at it. That was another thing in these studies, is that it got easier. It really does reinforce some pathways. And this is, again, true of every skill. The more you do it, the better you get at it. In that sense, we're rewiring our brain. So you can get better at gratitude. And guess what? That gives you a bunch of benefits. So it gets easier. You'll do it more naturally. And you'll just be happier overall, right? You don't have to work at some giant painstaking journal having to find gratitude. It'll be easier to find gratitude.